This message didn't just happen to find you. Your higher self planned for it to happen through an exact quantum entanglement. The probability wave of your past self is hitting its energetic collapse at a dimensional threshold. This internal turning point is never reached by most consciousnesses. They don't pull their attention away because they can't, but because the internal friction, the resistance to breaking down the familiar, makes them do so. They fall back into the safety of their old reality loop. You didn't run, though. At your heart, you know that what you are going through is not confusion, but a deep phase transition in your own quantum field. That's why you are still here and listening. The old observer has died, and you can feel it. This very second, not in a faraway time or as a metaphor, but right now, as you listen. It's not a crisis that you feel antsy, like your life doesn't fit right, and that the vibrational frequency of who you have been is getting farther away from the frequency of who you are becoming. Your cellular structure is being completely rearranged. This is the radical process by which the identity you've outgrown is finally falling apart. Your quantum field sent you this video as a final message to make sure you are ready to let go of the consciousness that got you this far, but can't really handle the higher timeline that is now calling you. It's not a chance that you are having that deep sense of recognition right now. That's when your consciousness finally matches up with the transmission's truth. If you feel this vibration in your body or the shift in energy, you need to put this truth into the quantum field right away. Just write one word in the comments below. Recognized. This simple statement leaves a clear, energetic signature that tells the world you are ready for this dimensional shift and fully present for it. Why you are having so much trouble is easy physics. You are hooked on your own observer loop. Not because the world it creates is satisfying, but because it is what you expect. Your consciousness has spent all of its lives collapsing the same set of probability waves, which keeps the same reality template in place. That past version of you knows exactly how you think, how you feel, and which responses they will choose from the infinite number that are possible. This low-frequency, repeated program has been going on in your nervous system, your energetic body, and even your subtle electromagnetic field for so long that it has given you a false sense of who you are. You think the loop is the self when it's not. You need to know this, though. It's not who you are. It's just what you've been learning. You are not genuinely interacting with reality when you react to a known trigger in the same way every time, when you choose the safety of certainty over the necessary leap, or when you keep having the same mental conversation. You are like a quantum recorder, playing back the same plot over and over again. The scariest thing about this is that the loop is so deeply ingrained and automatic that it becomes a part of your consciousness, like saying, "This is just how I am." But this is the biggest lie of the lower world view. It's not who you are. It's just the odds pattern that your attention has been picking out without you realizing it. If the operating system of the old observer is still running, you can't step into the coherent expression of your greatest self. Is that clear? This old system is quickly filtering and messing up every new possibility, every higher vibration relationship, and every big vision that tries to come into your awareness. It's an operating system that was made from old records of pain, wounds, and forms of restrictions. As a result, you are compelled to go through the same relational dynamics over and over again, pursue goals that don't really have a quantum signature in your field, and respond to new situations with the same trauma-based frequency signature. You are not tired because of how busy your life is. You are tired because you are constantly dragging a dead version of your consciousness into each new moment. In your soul, the quantum sensitivity is yelling that the time for the end of everything has come. But the observer loop fights back because, to the ego, letting go of the person you used to be feels just like the empty space before the Big Bang. Yes, it is. This is the cosmic death that must happen in order for a new dimensional experience to begin. This try at self-improvement is different from all the others because I understand how quantum mechanics works. You're not trying to make small changes to the old you. You finally understand that the two versions, the trapped observer and the coherent creator, cannot exist in the same reality. For the new self to become logical, the old self has to go through a full entropic decay. These thoughts, beliefs, and the whole pattern of attention that made up the restriction template are the chains that keep you from being free. The identity you hold on to because it's comfortable is not a safe place for you. It's the fixed pattern that keeps the loop going. You will stay in the quantum field until you are ready to let that probability wave fully collapse, until you mourn, thank, and truly separate from that version. You will keep using the blueprints of the lower paradigm to try to build a reality in a higher timeline. Think about how this shows up in your everyday life. Even though you say you want things to change, your attention keeps going to the same people who know and expect the old pattern from you. Even though you want to grow, you keep having the same thoughts and talking to yourself over and over again. These thoughts are the temporal echoes of past fears and shortages. Even though you say you're ready to grow, every choice you make is still based on the survival training of the self that learned to dim its light because it thought the world was too dangerous to shine in. I'm not judging this. I'm just naming the science of how your attention is right now. There is no way to start the phase transition you want until you are ready to see the patterns you have been hiding. Most people spend their whole lives in this cycle, secretly hanging on to the person they've always been, in the hopes of a spontaneous quantum leap that doesn't require them to let go of any energy. But change is controlled by the conservation of consciousness, which means that something has to energetically break apart for something new to form. The hardest part of this death process is that you have to let go of not only the bad parts, but also the whole personality you built around getting through the bad parts. We need to let go of the version of you that had to be the unwavering protector, because support didn't feel real. The version of you that reached a dangerous perfection frequency because love felt very conditional. And the version of you that learned to consistently collapse its light wave because shining felt like it was drawing unwanted attention. You had strong and necessary survival protocols in these different versions of yourself. It was how you dealt with the pain, but it wasn't who you were at your core. They were just a brief line you made in the electromagnetic field. Letting go of them causes real grief because for a long time, those ways were the only ones you knew how to get through. They were everything you knew about running. Now you are being asked to turn off this protective code and enter a version of yourself that is lying beneath the armor. A being that doesn't have to perform, protect, or show its worthiness all the time. A being that can just be in a flow state that makes sense on its own. At this point, you are most scared because you don't know what this new self looks like. You have been running the necessary survival program for so long that you have forgotten how to be yourself in the most basic way. How does one carry out this self-deletion process without experiencing what feels like a total loss of consciousness? To begin, you must practice radical quantum honesty regarding your attentional fixation spots. Which old copy of yourself are you still reinforcing? What story are you still telling about your limits based on what most likely happened in the past? What old ideas are still ingrained in the system that stop the new, more expansive self from coming into being? The next important step is to stop trying to change them. You just look at them. You need to explain the idea of meta-observation. You can see the trends without the energetic friction of judging yourself. You see that you always choose the same old response to the same old causes. You don't get stuck in the old self-punishment loop. Instead, you recognize it with radical neutrality. Oh, it looks like the old app is running. My consciousness learned to choose this low-frequency pattern. The loop starts to break in that moment of pure, neutral awareness, in that act of non-reactive observation. This is how the real observer effect is used. You can't be stuck in the loop and aware of how the loop works at the same time. The counter-frequency that throws off the rhythm is awareness itself. You aren't forcing change. You're just making the unconscious program obvious for the first time. And as soon as the program is seen, it loses all of its power to break the probability wave on its own. Now you have to do something that seems completely crazy. Choosing on purpose for the unfamiliar. This is not an act of show or put on. It means consciously letting new thoughts, choices, and vibrational reactions come into your mind every moment, even if they make you feel very uncomfortable and lost. Every part of the old observer will beg to go back to the safe routine it knows. That said, that friction, that feeling of not knowing what to do, that great discomfort is not a sign of failure. That is proof beyond a doubt that the old self is finally falling apart and the new, clear self is starting its birth process. The most random thing that can happen in the quantum field is birth. It does not feel like growth is going in a straight line. It feels like complete chaos inside. You feel like you've lost your identity deeply and don't know who you are anymore. You are right. You are not the person you used to be, but you are not fully rooted in the person you are becoming yet either. In the in-between, also known as the void state, you must die in order to be reborn in a different realm. A lot of consciousnesses here are scared. They pull back to what they know, because what they don't know makes them feel like they're going crazy. That being said, you're not dying. You are putting your energy together, changing the way your structure is set up, and coming together in a new, higher frequency way. A condition in which you don't need any of the old armor, patterns, or set, limiting identities in order to feel whole. And this is the ultimate freedom that comes from letting this entropic release finish. When you stop fighting the old self's final breakdown and start putting all of your faith in the new coherent observer emerging, you stop being recognizable energetically. Nobody knows who you are, not even yourself, and no soul who knew the fixed frequency of your past state does either. Some people, especially those who are still stuck in their own limitation loops, will see this change as a danger. They will try to pull you back by saying, "You've changed," which sounds like a charge. And all you'll do is smile because your soul will tell you the truth. I know. You are no longer sorry for how your quantum development has changed things. There is no longer a need for you to dim your energetic signature to keep their world fixed. You're just being the whole, honest, and logical version of yourself that you are. The goal you've been chasing is that state of present, which is real and high coherence. The true observer, the one that has been buried under years of conditioning, trauma-based programming, limiting expectations, and just survival protocols. Not a better, patched-up version of the old self. Your whole manifestation field will change when that first, clear version finally shows up, or when you let the old self die in a kind way so the new self can breathe. Not because the outside world changes suddenly, but because you stop trying to fit a reality from a higher timeline into the rigid, low-frequency box of your past self. You can now become the person you've always been, beneath all the things you had to be to get through the lower paradigm. Assuming that this truth is sinking in and that you can feel the recognition frequency turning on in your cells, I need you to make one last quantum declaration. Type a simple, clear statement of eager release in the comments section below. Type these 4 words: "The old observer falls apart." There was no explanation or story. There was only that deep, energetic dedication. When you say this out loud, when you name the process, you're not just recognizing the change. To the unified field, you are sending a clear coherence signal. You're saying, "I can see what's breaking apart, and I won't waste energy trying to bring a collapsed waveform back to life." Share this holy transmission with a soul you know who is still stuck in their own low-frequency loop, running an old program and being afraid of the quantum death they need to experience in order to be born. Get them to write the same statement. The old observer falls apart. Because there are times when we need permission from someone else to stop being the stable, reliable person we have always been. Okay? Here is that permission. Thank you for leaving this open. I know it takes a lot of strength to accept this truth because you are here, hearing and interacting with this frequency. The old version of yourself was never meant to stay in place. They had to be the main character in one strong story. You could find your way through the density with their help. But chapters end, and trying to live in a story that's already over doesn't honor the story. It just locks your consciousness into a low-energy cycle of repetition. You're not stuck. You are only quantum entangled with a form of yourself that is completely worn out and ready to break down. The next dimensional story starts as soon as you complete the final release, which means letting go of attachment and letting the old observer fall apart with gratitude. You got it not because you earned it, but because you made the energy space for it to happen. You can choose a new, bigger world because you are no longer the fixed pattern. This is because the quantum field has an infinite potential, and the version that is coming out now, the one you can feel, doesn't need to be protected. They don't need any proof. They only need your permission to exist, no conditions attached. This video found you to fully allow you and tell you that dimensional death is not your enemy. Stagnation of energy is. Let go of the old observer. Let that frequency rest for a while. That experience shouldn't be the ceiling, it should be the base. Because the old self has been going away for a while now. Step into who you are becoming, without any guilt, fully and finally. You only needed the last message to know it was safe to let them go. I'm telling you, it's okay. Let them fall apart and watch as your new, logical world comes into being. There is more to subscribing to a channel than that. You are connecting your consciousness to a frequency. By subscribing right now, you're announcing that you will always stay connected to this particular wavelength of quantum development. You can be sure that all future broadcasts, high-frequency data downloads, and the next step on your way to coherence mastery will effortlessly find you. Sign up now to make sure you stay where you are on this rising timeline. The real enemy in this development is not outside forces or even perceived flaws. It is your deep, cellular attachment to who you were. Not because they are bad people, but because their brains and quantum computers depend on steady energy flow. Your nervous system is always looking for the known frequency signature of your past self, just like a well-tuned receiver. This addiction doesn't last because the person in the past was happy or successful, but because they were known. You understand how they think, how they automatically feel, and what decisions they will make. The autonomic software that runs your whole biological and energetic machine has been the same for decades, creating a comfort prison that your body thinks is safe. The most subtle but most important part of the observer loop is this safety. You can think of your consciousness as a very powerful quantum computer. You've been following the same identity script for years. You are not just living your life when you react to stress in the same old, familiar way, when you make a choice that you know will lead to the same result, or when you reinforce a limiting belief with an emotional reaction that goes along with it. As a self-reinforcing feedback loop, you are in a constant state of what seems like identity, but is really just a regular flow of energy and information. Because it is so automatic and deeply programmed, this loop has become the default probability selector for your life. The scary truth is that this loop is not caused by your desire to stay the same. It is caused by your body's need for the known chemicals of old feelings. The old self is more than just a thought. It's a complicated bioenergetic field that is held together by repeated emotional states. When you feel the same frustration, worry, or sadness over and over again, your body releases a mix of chemicals that it has become chemically dependent on. It's like a quantum tether that holds your consciousness firmly to the past timeline. On a biological level, you are trying to break a chemical bond to the chemistry of the past. This is why real change feels like death. As soon as you try to choose a new probability wave, one that feels big, freeing, and foreign, your body sends a wave of discomfort, a low-level fear that screams, "Abort!" Go back to the frequency you know. Feel sure of who you were chemically again. When most people feel this physiological alarm, they give up right away. In that one moment of giving up, the probability wave collapses back into the known, predictable pattern of the observer loop. They choose the pain they know will hurt them over the quantum uncertainty of being truly free. To be truly free, you must first name the drug that holds you back. You have to bring the past into the light of day in order to break the chemical and energy bonds that are holding you back. What I want you to do now is a powerful meta-observation. Write in the comments, "I name the frequency of my past." This comment isn't about shame. It's an admission of having noticed something. It's the first thing you need to do to disconnect from the energy that keeps your past loops going. And it's also the exact moment you start the process of detangling yourself internally. Memory and pain are based on physics that we need to understand. Your past is not a static file. It is a quantum entanglement that is alive and well, and your consciousness is constantly adding energy to it. Each unresolved memory or traumatic event from the past leaves a unique frequency signature in your field. When that signature matches a person, place, or event in your present world, the whole archived probability template is activated right away. It's not enough to just remember the past. You can teleport your consciousness back to the way you felt and thought at that time. This is the reason you feel so tired. You're not tired from living in the present. You're tired from the constant, unconscious, dimensional travel back and forth between the present moment and the highly charged energy of your past pain. The main way that the old observer stays alive is through this memory loop. The old self is still there. It's just floating on top of your present energetic field, trying to squeeze the present into its picture all the time. You are not passively remembering when you play back a traumatic event in your thoughts. You are actively collapsing the probability wave of that trauma again, making it more likely to happen, and making sure that your consciousness keeps bringing you situations that resonate with that low frequency. This is why you keep meeting the same kind of person in different bodies or having the same problems at work. Unconsciously, your consciousness is acting like a quantum magnet. choosing experiences that confirm the frequency of the trauma that is still buried inside you. This need to keep re-experiencing is at the heart of the observer loop. The character you made for survival, the one that was strong, in control, or did everything perfectly, is not who you really are. It is a very complex way of dealing with stress that is made up of energy from old fears. The old self freaks out when you try to take off this protective armor because it sees taking it off as going back to the weak part of the original wound. When you let go of this identity, you have to grieve deeply because you have to mourn not only the pain, but also the strong identity you built to get through it. You are saying goodbye to the protector, the fighter, and the strategist. These were all important roles, but they are no longer needed for the coherent self. They did what they were supposed to do, and now their quantum signature needs to be let out into the field of no resistance. The way to freedom is not to fight the loop or try to make new patterns happen by force of will. This kind of work only adds to the energetic resistance, making the gap between you and your coherent self even wider. The important part is adding meta-observation. Stepping outside of your consciousness and observing the observer itself is referred to as meta-observation. It means keeping an eye on your attention signature, which includes how your mind breaks up the wave, where your attention gets stuck, and the patterns it naturally goes to. You do not deal with the things that make you anxious when the old anxiety comes back. In its place, you see the mechanism. Ah, that's the old observer picking the anxiety probability wave. I watch its choice, but I don't push it. The best use of the observer effect is this kind of neutral, detached observing. By looking at the loop without judging it, you take away the energy that it needs to keep going. You can't be both the program device and the person who sees the program at the same time. Just being aware without judging sends out a coherent counter-frequency that lessens the old pattern's magnetic pull. It's like shining a clear, focused laser beam on an old building that is falling apart. The light doesn't damage the building. Rather, it destabilizes its foundation by showing how it was built. De-entanglement takes a very long time and a lot of patience. It's important to let yourself see the loop without trying to fix it right away. You are just agreeing. That's the old low-frequency response. I'm aware of it, thank it for the service it provided in the past, and choose to not give it my attention. Now is the time for real quantum change. You are no longer stuck in the pattern because you are working from the meta position, which is the view of the coherent creator. As soon as the old program starts to fall apart, you enter the void state, which is the most painful time. This is the in-between dimensional place where the old observer has collapsed, but the new coherent self has not yet fully coalesced into a fixed reality. Moments feel stretched out, identity feels fluid and unclear, and your reality seems to be flickering as it tries to settle down. This phase is marked by intense temporal distortion. What held you together in the past is gone, and you feel like you're falling apart. The chaos and discomfort you're feeling is the creative entropy that comes with your old world falling apart. Do not fight the void state. It is where your unity begins. If you're ready to let go of this intense transitional state and accept the process of your quantum reorganization, write this in the comments. I give up and let things fall apart. This command lets go of the energetic resistance you've been hanging on to, so the universal flow can rearrange your reality without your ego getting in the way. This feeling of breaking apart is proof that quantum collapse worked. You are actually in between two dimensions. The strict rules of the past don't hold you back, but the flow of the future doesn't control you either. At this point, most people start to worry. The chaos of the void is too scary for the consciousness that needs fixed certainty, so they rush back to what they know. Old relationships, old habits, and old dramas. They choose the jail they know over the freedom they don't know. But you need to know that this chaos is actually creative entropy. There must be this step before timeline consolidation can happen. There is nothing you need to do here. Instead, you need to learn how to use coherent uncertainty, the capacity to rest your attention in the present moment, fully engaged and present, without tying your consciousness to a particular, predetermined result, is known as coherent uncertainty. The old self always wanted to be sure of things and knew where it was going before it took the first step. This need for certainty was the fixed signature that stopped the same few possibilities from coming together. The new coherent self works from a place of profound trust in the field. You move forward and make decisions that match the highest frequency, not because you know what will happen, but because you feel like what you want to happen is happening. Being in touch with truth is easier for you when you don't try to force it with your strong will. As you get better at coherent uncertainty, you will no longer collapse the same probability waves. You allow the vast, infinite quantum field of potential to bring outcomes that are exponentially greater than anything your old, limited mind could have conceived. Instead of being like a narrow searchlight that is always focused and straining, your consciousness changes into something like sunlight. It's everywhere and lights up the whole field without any effort or strain. The loop is broken for good when you switch from searchlight mode to sunshine mode. Your outside world will change to fit your new, higher frequency as you move through the void and start to settle the new, coherent self. There will be clear signs right away that your observer loop has broken. Changes in relationship frequencies. People in your life who are still stuck in their own limitation loops will feel very uncomfortable around you. The fact that you are now coherent makes their set patterns less stable, so they will naturally pull away. On the other hand, new souls, people who are also on the frequency of trust and expansion, will be drawn to you through strange coincidences. The low-frequency drama is no longer a good fit for you. Your group of friends is going through a quantum reselection. Temporal fluidity. You will start to see time not as a straight line that doesn't change, but as something that is flexible and can be shaped. Minutes spent in real, coherent engagement will feel wide and full of meaning, while days spent in low-frequency activity will fly by without any real progress being made. Your consciousness is no longer restricted to the old loop's narrow, fixed bandwidth, as evidenced by this temporal distortion. It feels like you are touching the eternal now moment, using synchronicities as proof. A chain of unavoidable coincidences will show you that the world is talking to you. Things you need, like tools, information, and specific meetings, will show up without any trouble. There is no chance in these events. They are the quantum field answering in real time to how coherent your attention is. Reality around your consciousness is being actively rearranged by the universe to make sure that you are no longer stuck in the past. The things you want will start to show up in your life without you having to fight, work hard, or force them. Instead, you will just have to be open to the possibilities. You'll understand that the highest timeline isn't somewhere you go, but something you fit in with. When your mind is fully focused and in sync, the quantum field just reflects back to you the reality that goes with it. Your wants and needs were always a part of you. They were just on a higher chance track that your scattered attention couldn't get to before. You will no longer feel like you are trying to get somewhere or become someone. This is the biggest change. You will be completely sure in your body that you are already there. As it stands, you are already that logical, limitless being. You were only briefly stuck in patterns of observation that made it seem like you were alone and struggling. Once you realize this, you feel a deep, lasting peace. This peace isn't based on hope or belief, but on knowing for sure. Now is not the time for small changes. Now is the time for this mass timeline consolidation to happen. And your soul chose to be a part of the first group of people to break free from these old, limiting habits. Pressure you feel is not anxiety. It is the phase transition pressure of your consciousness, getting ready to make the big jump that can't be undone. Not only are you improving your own life, but you are also laying the groundwork for a new, more open-ended set of possibilities for future generations. During this whole difficult process, I was training for this huge duty. If this powerful transmission hit home for you, you need to be a conduit of growth for another soul who is struggling in their own observer loop. This could be a friend, family member, or co-worker whose quantum field is looking for destabilization. It's not just a trade to share this message. It's a deep act of morphic resonance. This transmission immediately strengthens the collective field every time it reaches another awakening soul. This makes the timeline consolidation easier and faster for everyone, including you. Send this power forward right now. The next step is to learn how to use coherent uncertainty in real life so that you can choose the chance track you want. It is the last and most important key to using the Coherent Observer to its fullest ability. The Coherence signature. More than just attention and thoughts. The main difference between knowing about quantum ideas intellectually and being able to master them physically is what most people miss when they are trying to manifest. Even if you read every book and understand every theory about the observer effect, you will still be stuck in the old observer's patterns. This is because understanding and knowledge work on completely different levels. Sad to say, the truth is this. Your thoughts don't make things happen in your life. Your intention doesn't even make your world happen. Reality is made instantly and perfectly by the coherence quality between your whole consciousness, your energy signature, your feelings, and your knowing in your body, and the unified quantum field. You can't fake, push, or positive think your way to this level of coherence. It happens naturally and can't be changed when your observer function changes from fixed, stuck on old patterns, to fluid, moving with endless possibilities. Observer loop traps you by letting the quantum field guess what your consciousness is. When you woke up this morning, if your mind automatically looked for the same problems, the same external confirmations, and the same energetic landscape, you were basically telling the cosmic menu, please give me the same reality, over and over again at a low frequency. As an exact reflection of your energy unity, the field has to agree. But here is the cosmic truth that will change everything about your life. The quantum field is looking forward to your new directions very much. You are constantly being bombarded by infinite possibilities, which are the best and most beautiful forms of what you want. But they can't get past the fixed limits of the old observer loop because your focus is on the past. The universe never held you back, so you were never stuck. The reason you were stuck was that your consciousness had become too used to interacting with infinite potential. The most powerful force that makes the world work is coherence, which is also the only thing that can't be changed. When all of your being, your thoughts, feelings, energy signature, and deepest knowing vibrate at the same unified frequency, you become a force that creates reality, and the quantum field has to react right away. All observer loops are forever broken at this level of unity. Most people, though, try to find consistency by forcing themselves to agree with themselves, by trying to stop having bad feelings or think good thoughts. When you stop splitting your attention between different times at the same time, you'll experience true coherence. Attention scatter is directly responsible for your uneven results right now, where some parts of your life are getting better while others stay stuck. You are thinking about the bad things that happened to you and how they limited who you used to be. Another part is very worried and making guesses about possible futures that are based on fear. There is a very small part of your awareness that is truly present, coherent, and involved in the eternal now. The main force behind the observer loop is this attention scatter. It keeps your consciousness spread out over reality tracks that don't work together. A coherent, unified consciousness is the only one that can get consistent, high-level experiences from the quantum field. When your awareness is spread out, you get mixed messages. Some days feel magical, and other days feel normal. This lack of stability is not a test. It is a true reflection of your internal energetic fragmentation. Mystics call the process of making things make sense timeline consolidation. You have to take your focus, energy, and emotional investment away from all the lower frequency versions of yourself that are running in parallel, and strongly place it on the frequency that represents your highest potential. This is not just imagining or hoping for the best. Actually, this is dimensional shifting. You stop giving your energy to reality tracks that aren't helping your soul grow. When you embrace this shift, you stop trying to make sense of things and instead realize that you are already clear at your core. Your basic consciousness, which is where knowledge comes from, has never been broken up. Your trained attention is the only one that can focus on broken, limited events. When you remember how to let your mind rest in its natural, unified state, coherence is not something you make. It's something you find by taking away the work that isn't needed. You make the basic mistake of thinking that you are separate from what you want every time you try to change your world. The separation frequency you are trying to get rid of is immediately created and strengthened by this assumption. Coherence doesn't come from trying hard. It comes from deep rest. It comes out when you let your consciousness go back to its normal, unified state of creative flow, which is a deep act. The smartest people in the universe, who are also known as the masters of reality, don't try to control or force reality. They move to it. They stay in a state called Coherent Uncertainty, which means that their consciousness is fully present, fully engaged, and operating from the highest frequency, but they are not attached to any particular outcomes. This is the most important thing about the Quantum Navigator. Instead of just reacting to reality from the program of the past, the Navigator can respond to it from a place of sovereign flow. This changes the kinds of experiences that can happen through them in a basic way. This is why some people seem to have perfect lives, where everything goes smoothly and they don't have to do anything. On the other hand, others seem to be constantly struggling, even though they have the same means or effort. It's not about luck, being good enough, or spiritual privilege. The only thing that matters is how well their consciousness fits with the force that makes everything possible. Not only do you change your own reality when you learn coherent uncertainty, but you also make it impossible for everyone else's reality to stay the same. Your steady presence starts to make what we call quantum openings, short breaks in other people's set observer loops that give them unexpected glimpses of their own limitless potential. Your freedom makes a direct input to the evolution of everyone else. As your observer loop breaks down and you become anchored in the frequency of the Quantum Navigator, you will start to see clear signs in your daily life that the shift is complete. It's not some vague psychological sign. These are direct readings of your changing quantum field. 1. Faster synchronicities and rearrangement. Synchronicities will stop being rare occurrences and turn into a dense, steady flow that can't be brushed off as a chance. The universe isn't just giving you little pushes. It's actively rearranging reality around your consciousness to make sure you're not stuck in the same old patterns. It is common for the perfect resource, the exact word, or important information to show up right when you need it, sometimes before you even know you need it. This faster beauty on the outside is a direct result of how well you are doing on the inside. As your consciousness works from a place of coherence, you naturally give off a clear, pure, energetic signature that animals can pick up on right away. Pay close attention to how birds, animals, and even bugs react to you. Bioenergetic signs that your quantum field is stabilizing at a higher baseline include more eye contact, being closer than normal, or pets acting in ways that show deep recognition. Your relationship with technology will also change in a big way. Electronics are very sensitive to electromagnetic fields and consciousness. As your awareness grows, it will start to interact with these fields in ways that can be measured. When you try to interact with low-frequency information, this can show up as electronic glitches or devices crashing. On the other hand, technology will often seem to react to what you want it to do. For example, your phone might ring right when you think of someone, or your music app might play the perfect song for you without you having to choose it. This isn't just a coincidence. It's proof that your unified field is directly affecting the world around you. 3. The experience of eternal now moments. The fixed patterns of the observer loop keep the idea of linear time going. For mystics, the moment when your consciousness breaks free is the start of the eternal now moment. You can feel like minutes have turned into hours when you are fully present and involved, having deep connections and insights. On the other hand, you might go whole days without feeling rushed or tired because you are working from a different time dimension, the endless flow of coherence. There is a strong scientific sign that your consciousness is no longer recycling the same probability templates over and over again. 4. Quantum memory and downloaded wisdom. The way you sleep will change for sure. You may need less sleep, or your dreams may become very real, symbolic, and important to you. There will be nights when you feel like you are downloading enormous amounts of information directly into consciousness. The reason for this is that your awareness is no longer limited to the old loop's small reality band. You are getting information from two different timelines, from a fully realized version of yourself in the future who has already fixed the problems you are having now. These insights are not just random thoughts. They are quantum memories coming through, sending you direct messages of knowledge from your best future. 5. Deep changes in relationships. People will start to react to you differently without you even realizing it. Some people will feel strangely uneasy or even upset just being around you because your coherence is quietly destabilizing their own observer loops. People will be pulled to you like a strong magnet because you radiate a frequency of freedom and possibility. You can't play well with the low-frequency stories of people who are still cycling in the same ways. Your appearance acts as a quantum filter, naturally expanding your social circle to only include souls who are in tune with growth. I have to tell you a truth right now that is very important. It is no longer time to wait. The cosmic window for breaking out of these observer loops, both individually and collectively, is getting smaller and smaller. This is not a way to control someone. It's just a basic rule of consciousness physics. There are waves in the development of consciousness, and we are now at the very top of a huge wave that will not come back for generations. Every struggle and moment of recognition were planned by your greater self to bring you to this exact point of convergence. The change you can make right now, as you listen, will be a lot harder next year. The quantum field as a whole is hitting a point where consciousness has to make a decision. Either it breaks out of these patterns of limitation now, or it gets stuck in them even more deeply than before. Neutrality is breaking down. The field wants all consciousness to choose the next step in its evolution. The rapid changes and strong polarization you see in the global external world are just the planet's collective observer loop becoming less stable. Either people are growing quickly, or they are falling deeper into unconscious, fixed habits. The quantum reality matrix can't hold both frequencies at the same time in the same place, so there is no middle ground. This is the reason you feel rushed. Your soul knows that right now is the most powerful time for you to break free. If you hold the frequency, it's not only possible, it's absolutely required. How to become the desire in the alignment revolution. Not only does what you want you back, but it's also a parallel version of your own consciousness that wants to merge with you. Every wish, deep vision, and possibility that speaks to your soul is a probability wave in the quantum field that is trying to settle into the reality you are experiencing now. Your attention is stuck on the wrong frequency band, so it can't get to you while you are in the observer loop. Wanting things that seem too good to be true are usually the ones that have the biggest quantum signature in your field. They seem impossible because they happen on a higher, nearby timeline that your present ways of observing can't reach. You are only one frequency shift away from living in a world where those impossible things are normal, easy, and common. Now we get to the most important difference that changes everything: alignment versus attraction. Something different tries to pull itself towards you. This keeps the observer loop going because it keeps up the illusion that you and your desire are two different things that need to be forced to come together. Alignment takes away the things that are stopping you from getting what you want. When you understand that your desire is not separate from you, but rather a different expression of your consciousness, having an experience in a reality next to it, you will be in true alignment. The observer loop loses its hold when this recognition is felt and known instead of just an idea in the mind. This is because there is nothing left to watch from afar. You are the place to go. Because of this, pushing, striving, and trying harder creates energetic friction that pulls you farther away from the unity you want. Every time you look at your world through the lens of lack or separation, you choose that low-frequency timeline from the infinite field. You are strengthening the state of separation that keeps your wishes from coming true every time you anxiously check to see if they have already come true. Coherence, not effort, is what makes the quantum field work. When your attention, intention, and energy signature all work from the same high frequency, your consciousness becomes fully coherent. At that point, reality automatically reorganizes itself around that coherence. You are the space where things are already happening, so you don't have to make them happen. As you feel this last, securing truth settle into your cells, your quantum field is doing something that can't be undone. The gap between your present self and your highest timeline is closing. This is happening not because of something outside of you, but because you are finally giving up the low-frequency doing, the trying, checking, and attempting that was keeping you from connecting with your natural state of coherence. In the past, the abilities that are growing in your consciousness would have been seen as superhuman. But now, They are just the natural, effortless expression of an awareness that is no longer limited by the observer loop. Your intuition is becoming so precise that you know things before they happen, not through psychic prediction, but through quantum coherence with emerging possibilities. You are building reality fluidity, which is the conscious ability to switch between different probability tracks by changing how you look at things. As the traffic lights turn green, perfect parking spots appear, and complicated talks flow in ways that make everything work out perfectly for everyone. Because your consciousness isn't stuck on recycling the same old ideas, your creative abilities are exploding. You are downloading solutions and inspirations directly from the unified field, thoughts that have never been thought before, solutions that did not exist until you became coherent enough to access them. The physical parts of your body are getting new orders. Chronic issues resolve not through treatment, but because your cells are finally receiving new, high-frequency information instead of the stress signals of the repetitive loop. Right now, the observer effect is only helping you. When you look at your reality, you automatically choose experiences that are more beautiful, aligned, and expansive. This is because your consciousness has been retrained to operate from coherence instead of fear or lack. Your very presence becomes a blessing frequency for everything around you. This is the greatest secret that will always break loops. You're not trying to find your own world. You are becoming a center through which the world sees itself as a creative flow. Your life becomes an artistic expression of cosmic creativity, not a personal journey burdened by problems to conquer. This change in the planets is happening right now. Your change is an important part of the development of everyone else. Every time someone gets good at timeline consolidation, it sets off a strong morphic resonance that helps thousands of other people do the same. You are anchoring a new potential template for all of humanity. Because of this, you feel the weight of your duty. That's why you can't turn away. Your soul incarnated at this specific, critical moment to be one of the pioneers who helps birth this new, coherent human species. I want you to make one last, firm quantum commitment that solidifies this total shift in who you are, if everything I've said resonates with you. And if you can feel the truth of these words, awakening something old and familiar in your consciousness. Make sure you agree to your new functional identity before you make the final anchoring statement. You are no longer the observer stuck in the loop. It is you, the Quantum Navigator. If you want to make your new job clear, write this in the comments. I am the Navigator. You are now operating from a place of coherent uncertainty, ready to consciously choose your highest timeline. This action solidifies your functional shift, letting your consciousness and the collective field know that you are here. That is all. Not a thing else. This isn't making the computer interested. This is your consciousness connecting with the frequency band that works outside of the limits of normal reality. Every person who makes this final declaration creates a stronger, unified, morphic field that supports everyone else who is ready to make the final leap into their highest potential. We're not just building a community. We're also putting down the foundations for a new reality. The fight is over, and the effort is no longer necessary. Your future self is already living in a way that makes sense of all the possible outcomes. Let your present self finally catch up to the unity that is your birthright. That's all that's left to do. Make the last statement. Join the frequency. Let's break free from the patterns of limiting that have kept people small for too long. It's been waiting for you to remember that you are a sovereign, coherent, quantum navigator all along. You no longer have to wait today.